Welcome to the Birmingham Association of Realtors Network here. We're on the government affair and glad to have Representative Rod Scott from District 55, but we're also glad to have the new member orientation class here joining us today. Give yourselves a round of applause. Well, Representative Scott, you're here. We've been in session lately, and a lot of good things have happened as it relates to real estate down in Montgomery. Let's talk about first your district and what areas you cover.
Well, of course, there was a redistricting that did occur. So my district changed geographically, and it looks like a reverse Little Italy. I go all the way up to Adamsville off 78, come down to Minor Parkway, pick up Minor High School, go across, picking up Minor, keep going across 78, picking up Wylam, go up to 69, all the way to almost the border of Port Birmingham. But on the Wylam side, I come through, swing through, pick up Ensley, Fairfield to 19th Street, and then I shoot across Vinesville, Bellevue Heights, pick up a little Central Park, 5 Points West, West End, all the way picking up Princeton and Titusville.
Big district.
All the way to Tuscaloosa Avenue, and I go across the expressway and pick up Glen Iris. So you can tell it's kind of really spread out. And I have approximately 40,000 people in my district.
Well, Representative, there's a lot of real estate in your district, and there's been legislation and bills that have passed down in Montgomery, the landlord-tenant legislation, which has been passed this past term. And also, let's talk about historic tax credit, what that means to your district, but also the state of Alabama.
Well, we've used up all the allocation for the historic tax credit, essentially. It's a great bill. It allows for older buildings to get tax credits associated with the renovation to facilitate the renovation of the facilities. It was actually introduced by Victor Gaston from Mobile. He's the Speaker Pro Tem of the House. And this year it has been amended so that there can be sale of the tax credit in 3 years carry forward.
Well, we'll see a lot of uses of that, not only in the urban areas of the state, but also in rural areas. There are historic buildings that need revamping or revitalization, and that tax credit would benefit a lot of developers.
Oh, no question. For example, I live in Fairfield, and of course, Fairfield was actually developed by United States Steel. The ribbon was cut by Theodore Roosevelt, and it was the first working class community development in the world. So, we have a lot of older homes there that could take advantage of the historic tax credit.
Well, you look back a few months ago, there were some disasters that took place in our region. We had the tornadoes of 2011. We also had the winter situation in the snow. I guess some of these class members would know about that situation. But
they weren't stuck here, were they?
No, they were not here in class. But let's talk about the bill you're looking to bring forth with insurance.
Okay. Over the summer, I got with the Department of Insurance, and we developed a bill that will eliminate what I call disaster politics. Whenever there's a severe storm and there's a school building that is destroyed, there has never been enough insurance coverage to repair that building back to new standards. So this bill allows the insurance department to introduce 2 new insurance programs that will allow the buildings to be rebuilt back to current school standards instead of when the school was built. Prior to now, those schools and those districts have to come to the state. And in Enterprise, I think we did a 70, it was either I can't remember the exact number, but it was somewhere between $60 and $80 million bond issue that we did for Enterprise. There was the historic school down in Mobile that we did I think it was a $30 million bond issue. And then Tuscaloosa got on board because we were giving money to the school in Mobile. In Tuscaloosa, we did about a $20 million bond issue. So this bill will eliminate us having to borrow money to rebuild schools that have been destroyed. It's going to cost the state about $1.4 million a year, But over the last 6 years, we would have saved somewhere around $150 million.
Wow, that's amazing. Well, appreciate your work on that. Good luck with that bill, and hopefully you'll get
It's-
bipartisan participation.
It is. It's already up in the Senate.
Okay.
It should come up next week, and hopefully it'll pass.
Well, it's a few days left in the legislative session. What's the hot topics?
Oh, jeez. For Jefferson County?
Yes, of course.
Well, the hot topic for Jefferson County is certainly the waterworks bill. And
Your thoughts?
that is a very difficult bill for us to manage. And I say that because I'm going to be quite honest. Are you all from Jefferson County for the most part, or are you from all over the state?
All over the state.
All over the state.
Calhoun.
Okay.
Well, Jefferson County is really interesting. We have the largest delegation in Alabama. We have 18 members in the House. That delegation historically has not worked very well together. So the way that you would traditionally solve a problem is that you would bring everybody together, and then you would work on the problem, and you would come to an agreement. And if a bill had to be executed from the agreement, then you would execute a bill. However, we are a little bit more contentious. We don't agree most of the time, so there's a lot of conflict. As a result, there has been a bill that was dropped concerning the Birmingham Waterworks that would change pay, term, and membership on the board. The bill is really as contentious as it is because the Birmingham Waterworks never really wanted to accept anybody outside of Jefferson County in terms of providing them with water. And there were extreme conditions that those counties came forward and actually asked to be provided water from the Birmingham Waterworks. But as history would prevail, people forget. And now they're saying that they really want a seat on the board and a voice on the board of the waterworks. So it's created a lot of contention, but we do know that water is one of the most valuable resources that we have. As a matter of fact, we can't live without it. And so we're just going to have to see what happens to Senator Wagner's bill that's currently in the House. It was just presented in the House, I think, on Thursday. And there should be a committee meeting scheduled. If there is one, it'll be next week. Gets out of committee, then it has to come to the floor of the House.
Well, thank you for the update on the Waterworks bill. We're going to entertain some questions now from the new members of this great class from all over Alabama. Anybody have a question for Representative Scott?
I do.
Okay, please stand.
I was interested in, you were talking about preservation of the historic communities. That's new? Is that something that's coming about?
No, that bill was actually passed, I think it was last year. By Victor
And that's a
Gasson.
tax credit?
Yes, it's a tax credit. I sit on the Education Trust Fund Committee, and all tax credit bills usually come through that committee. So we had there was really no dissension about it. We know that we should be incentivizing the renovation of historic buildings, not just here in Jefferson County, but throughout the state. So,
Thank you very much. And anybody else? Anyone else have a question for Representative Scott? Yes.
I have one quick one, and it has to do with the flood insurance and the Biggers Water Act. I personally have lost several cells because of the changes. Flood insurance, October 1st, same house, same company, went up from $2,600 a year to $8,700 a year. So is there anything being done on a state level to help with the changes?
there is a lot of regional discussion. When I say regional, Alabama, Georgia, Mississippi, the Carolinas, we're beginning to discuss the flood insurance issue because we know that it is just outrageous at this time for anyone to be able to afford flood insurance. I mean, at $8,600 a year, that's $86,000 in 10 years. I mean, you could easily buy a couple of rental properties in some areas. but there has been no legislation presented at this time. People are grappling with how do we actually deal with that insurance issue. For example, when we started dealing with the tornadoes and hurricanes destroying schools, it became an issue of how do you really deal with a school that's been destroyed and there's not enough coverage, but we know that that school has to be rebuilt. So quite naturally, I actually worked in the insurance industry, so I thought about the concept of reinsurance. Now, this idea had been perpetuated by the Department of Insurance, but they really had not explained it to the legislative body. So the insurance department can create a program, and then they can actually reinsure those properties through other insurance companies. And over time, the insurance premium, as long as there's no real disasters, the insurance premium should actually begin to decrease. I think something innovative and creative is going to have to be done with flood insurance. And it may go beyond the state of Alabama to include the region so that we could get a handle on those costs and begin to reduce those costs across the Southeast.
Okay.
But it's a very difficult issue for us to deal with.
Thank you.
And flood insurance, too, is a hot topic nationally amongst realtors across the country, and a big concern is we have a lot of waterways, especially in the south of this region, as you expressed, Representative. So we appreciate you being here. I want to thank the new orientation and the members of this class for being here and asking a couple of questions today.